As I'm standing here, you might be thinking to yourself, I wonder if a short gospel means a short homily. Well, it turns out to be able to make the homily a little longer because that was a short gospel, so we're saved on time. You know, dynamite comes in small packages. And today's gospel reading, although short, it contains a very powerful and valuable message that is extremely apropos for this, the first Sunday of Lent. And the message it contains is important for the second Sunday of Lent, for every Sunday of Lent, and actually, if we listen to the message, it's important for every day of our lives. You know, there's this church down in the South, they're having a big revival. And inside of the church, all these people are praising God and singing hallelujahs to Jesus. And outside of this church is a Halloween parade going on. And during the course of the Halloween parade, people dress in all type of different costumes. It starts to rain, and it starts to rain really hard. And all the Halloweeners dressed in all these different costumes are running through the streets looking for shelter. There's this fella dressed as the devil. And he's running through the streets, and he notices this church, the lights are on, so he runs up the steps, and he opens up the big wooden doors and runs right down the center aisle. And all the people looked as they're praising God, and they noticed that the devil, and they all went running out. Everyone ran out except one fella. He went to leave his pew, but his jacket got snagged on a splintering pew. As he's grabbing his jacket, trying to be set free, his jacket just keeps getting more embedded into that splinter. Finally, this devil walks up to this fella, and the fella said to the devil, he said, "Devil, believe me, although I've been here praising God, I've been on your side the whole time." You see, and that's the message. That's how life works. That's the challenge for all of us this first Sunday of Lent. For we have a tendency as Christians and Catholics, we act one way when we are inside of this church, and another way when we get outside of those doors. If your neighbor, if some stranger saw you, the way you act out on Leechburg Road or driving your car or how you act outside of these doors, would they say that is definitely a Christian? There's no question about it. That's a Christian man. Or would they say something different? You see, that's the essence of this gospel reading. Now, the gospel comes from the first chapter of Mark, verses 12 to 15. What we want to look at is verse 12 of the first chapter of Mark. Let's take a look. Now it says, the Spirit drove Jesus out in the desert, and he remained in the desert for 40 days, tempted by the devil. Now, as you look at those words, I want you to look at the background sing to those words. That's a picture of a desert. So Jesus is out there in the desert. The Spirit drove Jesus out in the desert. And the desert is what? It's desolate. There's nothing out in the desert. So Satan realized what? Satan realized, I got a golden opportunity as Jesus is out there in that desert, drove out there by the Spirit. I have a great opportunity to seduce Jesus. If I could get into the mind of Jesus, I can make Jesus mindful of me, and that's what I want. So for 40 days, stretch it high, that devil did everything he could. The devil is smart. Not that we want to spend any time tonight bragging about the devil, but the devil is good at what he does. He deserves a salutation, the fact that if he wants to knock you away from being close to God, he's going to effectively work on it. General Douglas MacArthur used to always say that if you want to defeat your enemy, you have to understand your enemy. You have to understand the power, the velocity of your enemy. And if you want to defeat Satan, the devil, then you have to understand the power, the strength of the devil. He's going to be working on you 24/7 to pull you away from God. I've had people tell me, Father Ken, I try to get close to God, and every time I get close to God, something interrupts me. I can feel a tug pulling me away from God. Why does that happen? That happens because the devil is doing his job well. He's trying to pull you away from God. If you don't have a prayer life, if you don't go to church, if you could care less, if you don't act like a Christian, you just do what you want to do and Christ is not a part of your life, guess who else is not a part of your life? The devil. Because he's saying to himself, I already won that fella. I don't have to worry about them because they're doing and they're acting and they're saying things that I want them to do, act, and say. I'm going to focus on the person who's trying to go to church. I'm going to make sure that if a person pulls out their rosary to pray to God, I'm going to do some style of interruption so they put their rosary down and do something else. I'm going to make them listen to something on the news that angers them. Because I don't want them to feel God, I want them to feel me. And so for 40 days, the devil tempts Jesus. And here's the beautiful thing about Jesus. For 40 days, Jesus successfully does what to the devil? He keeps saying no. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to be seduced. I'm not going to say yes to your tricks. I'm going to say yes to God my Father. So for the 40 days that we're starting as we travel through this season of Lent, from not a resurrection Easter Sunday, every day the devil's going to do his best to tear you away from God if you're trying to get close. And what are you going to do? That fella in that church said, devil, although I've been here praising God, I've been on your side the whole time, and sometimes that's the way we act. The next time you do something that's hurtful, rather than helpful, who are you listening to? Satan or God? The next time you do something greedy rather than being gracious, who are you listening to? The devil or God? The next time you do something cruel rather than gracious, who are you listening to? The devil or God? The next time you do something sinful rather than sincere, who are you listening to? The devil or to God? That's a challenge for everyone here tonight, tomorrow, during the season of Lent, and every day thereafter. The devil is going to do his best to pull you away from God. Hopefully you do your best to stay close to God, because he's going to work on pulling you away. And the next time, and it might be, hopefully not, but it could be, maybe before this Mass is over. Maybe before this Mass is over, something might get you upset, and you're going to start to seethe inside, and maybe you think something negative, and guess who's got a big smile on their face if you do? The devil. And if it doesn't happen when you're in church tonight, when you get in your car and you're headed on to the store, to home, or wherever you're headed, and you have the opportunity to do something that isn't Christ-like, just before you do it, stop and say to yourself, should I do that? Because if I do, who's winning? Who's got the smile on their face? Satan. And God probably has another frown. So every time the devil tries to seduce you, and this is the message I'll leave you with right now, whenever the devil tries to lure you away from Christ, lure you away from God, take you away from your prayer, keep you from coming to church, keep you from watching us in church live streamed, you always want to tell the devil this: devil, no, guess what, devil? I'm not on your side. I'm on his side.